All right, guys, let's keep moving on with reading. We are on to day 4. Before we get into our PowerPoint, let's review our grammar skill for the week. Remember, we're talking about imperative and exclamatory sentences this week. Imperative sentences give a command or a request. Please sit in your seat. Do your homework. Go outside, right? They're always things that we're asking someone to do. Exclamatory sentences show strong feelings. I love Alabama football! Exclamation point. So exclamatory sentences always end with that exclamation point. All right, moving on to day 4. Some amazing words today. Foreign. We read about how Newfoundlands were foreign to the Native Americans that Lewis and Seaman encountered. So what exactly does foreign mean? What context clues in this sentence can we use to figure out what that word means? Foreign means having to do with a country that is not one's own. Okay, so it's something that's unfamiliar. We're not sure of it. So when we say we read about how Newfoundlands were foreign to the Native Americans, that lets us know that it is not of their own country, and they weren't very familiar with him. Remember, they thought he was a bear and not a dog, and they called him Bear Dog. So that is what foreign means. It's when it is unfamiliar to you because it does not have to do with your own country or your own familiar settings. All right, improve. Improve. She reads a lot to improve her grades. So what does improve mean? Improve, right. It means to make it better. If you want to improve something, that means you want it to get better. Maybe you want to improve your level in a game you play, or you want to improve your skill at a sport. If you want that, you've got to practice to improve or get better. Alrighty. Literary nonfiction, talking about biographies. So remember, nonfiction, what does nonfiction mean? Right? Nonfiction means that it is real, it is not fictional. And a biography, what is a biography? Yeah, good. A biography is a story about someone's life, but it is written by someone else. So that would be like if I wrote a story about you. That would be a biography because I'm writing the story, but it's about you and not me. So it can cover a person's entire life or just little bits and pieces of it. The author creates a narrative or a story that is based on true events from that person's life. If you're going to write a story about someone or write a book about someone, are you going to write about fake things or make stories up? No, right? You're going to use facts and things that actually happened to them in their life. It is organized in sequence, and we know sequence means that it is the order in which things happen first, second, next, then. So it's going to go in order. They're going to start with the beginning, and they're going to end with the end of that part of their life, or maybe the end of that person's life, depending on who they are writing about. Examples of cause and effect relationships can show why a person made certain choices. So maybe they loved football, and that love of football made them choose to go to the University of Alabama. Okay, so there's always cause and effects things. This happened, and it caused this to happen. Or because they made this choice, they did this and made this decision. Alrighty, let's go on. We are going to read our paired selection. Our paired selection today actually is a biography. It is a story about Ellen Akoa. She is a space pioneer, and we know that word, right? Lewis and Clark were pioneers. Pioneers, remember, are those people that are helping discover unfamiliar territories or unknown territories. So this is a story about Ellen Akoa. It is by David Arroyo. So that means that is what we're talked about, what a biography is. It's someone else writing a story about someone. So let's see if we can make some comparisons between Ellen and Lewis and Clark in their journeys that they made.
Ellen Ochoa, Space Pioneer by David Arroyo. In 1958, a baby girl was born in Los Angeles, California. Little did her parents know that she would grow up to become the world's first female astronaut of Hispanic American heritage. Her name was Ellen Ochoa, and this is her story. Born and raised in California, Ellen was an excellent student. At school, she loved math and music. She went to college at San Diego State University. There, she earned a degree in physics. After college, she had a decision to make. Would she become a scientist or a musician? She was so good at the flute that she could have become a professional flautist.
Okay, so as we just read this first little bit, does this sound like the beginning of a story or the beginning of someone's life who's going to end up becoming an astronaut? No, she's talking about how she liked science and math, and she was trying to figure out if she would become a scientist or a musician, not an astronaut. So let's see what happened in her life that kind of shifted that path that she was originally thinking of taking.
As much as Ellen loved music, she listened to her mother. Her mother always said that education is the key to a successful career. So Ellen went on to graduate school. At Stanford University, Ellen studied electrical engineering. She did not know what type of job she would pursue until she heard about Sally Ride. In 1985, Sally Ride became the first female astronaut in the United States. Suddenly, Ellen knew what she wanted to do. She set her sights on becoming an astronaut.
Okay, so she listened to her mother and she went to school and to continue, and she studied electrical engineering. But she still didn't know what she wanted to do until she heard about Sally Ride and how she was the first female astronaut. And then she knew that she also wanted to become an astronaut. So there is one of those examples of a cause and effect relationship. What was the cause for her wanting to be an astronaut? The cause was she heard about Sally Ride. The effect was she set her sights on becoming an astronaut. So there's always cause and effect relationships throughout our lives that help us make these decisions. All right, let's keep reading.
It takes many years of hard work to become an astronaut. First, you have to develop expertise in engineering. Ellen's expertise is in building systems that can see objects in space. Her inventions helped NASA to find and understand objects in space better.
All right, so she used her schooling, her graduate school expertise of electrical engineering to help NASA create things that helped them see objects in space. So that's pretty cool too. She used what she was already doing to kind of further her dream career of being an astronaut. Alrighty, let's see what else she did.
NASA was impressed with Ellen's engineering talent. In 1990, NASA accepted Ellen into its astronaut training program. She became an official astronaut in 1991. In 1993, Ellen took her first flight into space. She spent 9 days on the Space Shuttle Discovery as a mission specialist. The next year, she traveled on another space shuttle mission. There is a lot more to being an astronaut than taking a trip on a space shuttle. While on her shuttle missions, Ellen studied the sun's effect on the Earth's climate and atmosphere. she examined the Earth's ozone layer. All of her years of school and her scientific knowledge helped her to do this important research.
Okay, so here's another example of a cause and effect relationship. Because of all of her hard work in school and with electrical engineering and all of her studies, it was able to help her when she was an astronaut do all of this awesome research that is going to end up benefiting the planet actually as a whole. So that's pretty cool, right? So the cause was all of her hard work and studying in school, and the effect was that she was able to help all of these things and study all of this stuff a lot better because she had all that knowledge that she built up in college.
Today, Ellen Ochoa is still working for NASA. This remarkable woman is a pioneer in spacecraft technology, an inventor, an astronaut, and a scientist. Out of respect for her accomplishments, 2 schools have been named after her. The students and staff at one of the schools said they wanted her name because Ellen Ochoa was an inspiration to them. Without a doubt, Ellen Ochoa will continue to inspire people for a long time to come. Let's think about.
Alrighty, so let's look at how we can compare Ellen Ochoa to Lewis and Clark. Remember, at the very beginning of this, they called her a space pioneer, which means that she was someone who was discovering and getting into and figuring out all of these new unknown territories. Just like Lewis and Clark, right? They went on that trek, on that journey across the United States to find all these uncharted territories to see if there were any other places that people could settle down to live, set up cities and towns and farms and all those things that the president was wanting them to find. Well, Ellen Ochoa did the same thing. She studied really hard. She became an astronaut, and because of all of her hard work, she was able to do research and look at the Earth's climate, the ozone layer, and figure out how all of those things work together. So they're very similar in those ways. Now, were there territories that they explored the same? Oh, goodness, no. Ellen Ochoa was exploring space, and Lewis and Clark in the 1800s were exploring uncharted territories that people weren't living in yet. So even though the places that they were exploring were different, they still were doing the exact same things. They were looking at these new places, these uncharted territories, so that they could learn more about it and take all of that great knowledge back to those people that they were reporting to, whether it was NASA or back with Lewis and Clark, the president. All right, so tomorrow is test day again already. Please make sure that you go back and you reread Lewis and Clark and Me on Pearson. Study your spelling words, study your vocabulary words, study your sentences, imperative and exclamatory, so that you can do your absolute best on your test tomorrow. You guys have done another great week of virtual school. Keep up the hard work. I love you guys. Keep pushing.